Okay, so I just thought it was.
We have Hunter folk.
Can you hear me okay?
We see things happening at Hunter, but I don't hear.
Can you hear
Here
me?
we go. Yes, I can hear you better. I think it.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, my name is Pamela Delamanis. I'm an adjunct in the English department. I've been here for 7 years. And I wrote a little, like a happening thing, but don't know if I have enough people for the happening. So would you be willing to participate in the happening? And if you willing to participate? Absolutely. So I would point to you and ask you to read, and it's in jam. So just read straight through. Just don't stop at the end of the line. Got it. And this is called Adjunct. Maybe this time I can tell you what's what. A little bit of a rant. There have been a few restarts here. I am alone.
I am alone. I have no connections. I am single. I am
not attached. We read at the same time.
Oh,
There are some guidelines,
okay.
but every time, you keep reading.
I am alone. I have no connections.
But every time
I am single.
There's
Unattached.
a new chair. There's nobody on the phone at all.
No connections. I am single. I am alone. I have.
Don't need to my first section.
Sorry.
No, it's great. That's great. Okay, I'm alone. There's a new chair. There's nobody on the phone at all. Start reading while I'm reading.
There's a new
Best
chair.
review was at a
Nobody
community
on the
college.
phone at all.
It lasted 5 years.
There's a new chair.
There,
There's nobody on
I've
the
written
phone at all.
resume and said, go to
There's a
speak
new
with the
chair.
secretary.
There's nobody on the phone
Gave
at
me
all.
the keys to the adjunct
There's a new chair.
office.
There's nobody on the
Told me
phone
there
at
was a
all.
file
There's
drawer
a
with
new
my
chair.
name on it
There's
and
nobody
handed
on
me a
the phone at
textbook
all.
they used for
There's a
the
new chair. There's nobody on the
I
phone
think
at
I
all.
put it all together. I think
There's
I
no
remember
chair.
thinking
Nobody
that
on
there was a
the
big
phone at all.
cafeteria and that might be good because one of the schools where I teach didn't have a place to eat for 4 years. If I bought lunch, I only made $4 an hour for that day. I remember calculating how to make the funding worthwhile. I realized that if I only spent 6 minutes per paper, I would roughly earn $20 an hour, which sort of felt good and not too shabby. 20 an hour. At one point, I was working at a school that really didn't have an office. They were sort of putting us in a break room where the security guards heated up their curried goat. And it was all sort of tolerable because sometimes they would even give me a little taste of the goat. But that place also had a system of reward. If the students passed, I got a bonus. We have 3? I have 3. Oh. I got a bonus. I also got a Christmas bonus. They were kind of great, but most of the students didn't want to read literature. They were looking to get jobs, repairing equipment, making salads and working in hotels. It was a major, students majored in hospitality or baking or working in hotels. And they also had automotive repair, which was good about that. When I think about that school, at least I think I understood that the students would learn something. It was a noble goal. It felt great when the students could read aloud and I could hear that they could improve. And then these little gems would show up. One student of mine burst into the room one day. She said, hey, this lady is telling you the truth. You're going to need to format your paper and your name should be in the upper right hand page. And she's really smart and you should listen to her. This particular student had been a housewife. She had butt implants and she had collagen in her lips. And as I am hard of hearing and read lips, I couldn't really understand her, being mostly deaf. And the big thing about that is that I have to read lips when I teach. And it does get difficult not to be able to hear what's happening. I realized this when I was living in the Hamptons and commuting to a community college. And I had a student who was on the spectrum and we were in a computer lab for class and he wanted to be a musical tech and he refused to turn around. He had his back to us the whole time. I would very politely ask him to turn around. And at one point in the semester, I noticed that the students were looking at their computers intently. When I walked into the classroom, but they were playing Words with Friends. Oh no, I think it was something called Cards Against Humanity. My student wouldn't turn around and one day I asked him and he said, I think I'll kill you all. Everyone in the classroom heard him say it and so that was that. Then I had to go to the chair, which really meant a funny thing on Long Island. I had to say, we have a big problem. And the student's mother came in and she said she knew that the paper was higher than a B- because she had written it. So now I had to deal with the threat of death, plagiarism, mental health issues, being on the spectrum, and at least 3 hours of meetings unpaid. And the upshot of that experience was that the state troopers were posted outside of my door. For real, state troopers standing at the door as I was walking in. That same school started admitting students with disability issues to boost their numbers, which is all well and good. But adjuncts are teaching these classes, and this particular class was in the math lab, and it was a night class. At my first day of class, I was met without any notice from the school with Maribel. Her name is not really her name. But anyway, she came in with 2 sign language interpreters and her mom. And her mother stopped me. I should also mention this particular school caps their English class at 27 students. 27. And the room, well, the mom wanted to tell me why Maribel wanted to go to college, and the sign language interpreters, I should have mentioned that they then said that they would not explain the assignments to her, that they would only interpret what I had said and translate. And that was all well and good. After about 2 minutes of talking to Maribel through her sign language interpreters, she told me that she was also legally blind and that she would need printed materials to be 54-point font. 54. I remember telling her mom, yes, I will do my best. So I got to school early the following Monday and went to the disability office and asked them to copy the text so that it was big enough. And they told me they could not make the text big enough for 54 font, that they would not be able to help me at all. I realized early into the second week that Maribel only spoke sign, which is a totally different language from English. And I was asking for a paragraph about her career goals, and she wrote by hand on a page with very large print, I want to teach kids deaf. Oh, well, this is not my best Anne Sullivan moment, I have to admit. Also, not to mention that same semester student was completely disrespectful of women, posted regularly that I was a terrible teacher on myprofessor.com as an adjunct. Probably shouldn't be worried about what that website says, but everyone knows it blows, and there I am with nothing else. I mean, they looked at the hot factor. Remember that? Do you remember when you were red pepper? And then Jess Rowe, who teaches at NYU, got called a troll, so I figured it wasn't that bad. And even Hunter College's esteemed chair was called for. Part 2, whoring for English. It is a lovely experience to be a whore for an English job. You know, you sort of show up at the interview with your shiny object, a piece of paper, a prestigious college degree that says you could read, and then you thought about how that you miss a message, and then you can possibly order food at a French restaurant, or maybe you're like me, raising a kid, trying to make sense out of the system. At some point, I knew I would never get the conference. I would never get to the point where people are fired. And you're not going to be, that's fine. And none of this was the system in place. So where is the best place? I wonder sometimes as an adjunct, but let's be really honest. I really didn't know how to teach when I started. I went to K-12 teaching. And then there's always this way to like keep your course as a hybrid course, because we forgot what happened during COVID. But I made more money during COVID than I've ever made in my life. So maybe that's what needs to happen. We can hang your head out the window, breathe, and now sometimes it's spring. And I remember telling people what a boon it is to teach, what a great experience it is to teach, to get the degree, to go back to school, to listen to my friend, do all these wonderful things. It was phenomenal. But you walk into any office at some schools and they say, oh, professor, what can I do for you? And here's what I do. I have no idea how to reach our students anymore. I just tell them every class, I care about you. I want you to succeed. I want to help you. And I want you to get where you need to go. Thank you.
That was great. You should publish that. That was
Yes.
That was great. I just.
Hello. So this is wonderful, and we have somebody else from Hunter.
Yes, I'm supposed to speak for a couple of minutes.
That sounds great. Do you mind
I'm in the
telling
English
us who you
department.
are?
And I'm
Just
talking
stand over here.
briefly about pension issues
I put the mic closer.
and adjuncts, pension issues and adjuncts.
Right.
If I told my story, it would be way too long and I would get heart palpitations, so I'm not gonna tell the thing. Just suffice it to say, I'm a little surprised that so many adjuncts do not know about the pension system, number one, because it's fairly good. You pay in very little to it and you get a nice pension at the end of your service, depending on how many years you're here. So you should really look up the QPP, especially online with the union site. But there's a few things that really need to be addressed with CUNY Central, one of which you can buy back service for any, if you never signed up for the pension, you can buy back service. And so I was a full-time professor at Lehman College for a few years. I was the head of the graduate program there. So I requested a letter of cost from the pension people. I requested the letter in February of 2024. I got a response in April of 2026. Am I supposed to do something? The recording is stopped. So it took over 2 years for the school, the Lehman College, to even respond, and that was only after union, intervention. So it's a problem that I've been hearing that, there's a very general lag time in getting the responses, and you pay on that money when you buy back service here. So it's very big problem. And also, I want to encourage you to keep all of your pay stubs from Hunter College and wherever you teach. Because when I finally got the records from Lehman, they were incorrect and they left out 55 pay periods. 55. They had another person's name on the letter. They sent it to a man's name. Okay, thank you. They sent it to TRS. They had incomplete, incorrect information. It's still not straightened out, to be honest with you. I'm trying to work with the pension people, but I'm giving you some advice. And I've been in touch with Jen Gabori about addressing the issue of response time to letter of cost and buying back service, because it's a problem from what I've been hearing from people. But the accuracy issue is also an issue, is a problem. You're entitled to your pension. Sign up for the pension. It's actually very good. If you didn't sign up and you want to buy back some years, I encourage you to do that. It's a really phenomenal pension. They annualize the amount of money that you make, so that it's fair. I could go through the formula with you, but if you sign in, it's the average of the highest 3 years of your pay times 1.67, and you sign up now, times the years of service. That's why it's good to buy back the years of service. So it's,
30 seconds.
I'm just giving you some advice. Save your pay stubs, because I saved every pay stub from Lehman and I was there 20 years ago. So I went back to them and said, you're missing 55 pay periods. And if I didn't have those records, I have my contracts and my pay stubs from Lehman. Keep your information. I'm not kidding you.
Thank you, Susan.
So that's it. I have no class, but thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
Checking with your personal
Thank you
email.
so much.
Thank you. And so we're gonna switch a little bit to City College here. We have Michelle, who is from CWE and who is going to share her story.
To speak. Am I there? Hi, everybody. I hope you can hear me. Listen, I want to tell you my story. When I was a student, I watched one of my professors. We were at an event, and I watched her during the event. She was in the corner and she was grading papers. And I just thought to myself, why is she grading papers? And I asked her why she was grading papers. She said, this is adjunct life. And I thought to myself, well, that's not going to be me. And here, 17 years later, it has been me. And one of the things that kind of upsets me about being an adjunct is, number one, you are looked at as less important, if that makes sense. And let me just say this, I happen to be teaching at a very wonderful place, um, CWE, Center for Worker Education, but that doesn't negate the fact that I am an adjunct and that I am treated differently just based on that title. And the work that I have done and the work that I've given to said school where I graduated from. So I'm very grateful to be teaching there. But that the adjunct life, it's a hard life. And just understanding about not being able to have certain benefits because you are a part-time worker, it's just not fair. Yeah, there's some things that I am going to look into, as the person who preceded me said, but overall, the benefits are not the same. And so, and I'm not young, right? And so I have put my eggs in this basket, hoping that there is going to be a return. So, and doing it for the students and also doing it because it's fulfilling for me. But at the same time, it's like you're not really paying me what I'm worth, what I'm worth. And so I just wanted to express that. And I try not to be in places and spaces where it's celebratory and I'm grading papers. I won't do it because I'm not being paid for that. So that's all I want to say. And I'm so grateful just to be in this environment where you're not alone. Like I'm not alone. And even like I was teaching 3 classes and then the school said, oh, you know, we have to take you down to 1. And I had to call up another school and say, can you please give me a job? Oh, would you please consider me for the summer? Oh, you're wonderful. You're great. But sorry. Now I have been fortunate enough to be able to teach those classes, but running back and forth is a bit much on the legs, on the knees. And so we need to do better for our adjuncts. Thank you so much for just letting me just express myself in this way. I appreciate you. Solidarity, solidarity. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle, and so glad you could join us today. I know you're running, running around. And so let me see, who do I have next? James. James is remotely checking in, but is CCNY adjunct. So
Hi, can you hear me?
yes.
Awesome. Hey, everybody. I'm James. I'm an adjunct at City College. I'm also a student at the Graduate Center. And part of the reason why I'm doing this from home is because my 16-month-year-old daughter is sick today. Um, and that's a big part of my story, actually. I love teaching. Even though as a PhD student, teaching isn't always central to the training and the experiences that are put in the foreground, um, that's one of the things that I love most. And yet now I'm currently actually in a situation where I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to financially be able to continue teaching. Um, we live in a 1 bedroom right now, and it's difficult working with a baby in a 1 bedroom. I'm sure plenty of people, probably people in this room, Zoom room, have done it. But we have housing expenses and daycare expenses, even though hopefully some of that may be addressed soon. Um, we have expenses with our growing family that adjuncting, as much as the flexibility can sometimes be useful, the pay is just not enough. And sadly, um, I'm looking into other jobs that might be able to uh, um, give me the salary that I'm looking for, even though that would mean that my daughter would have to go to full-time daycare. Whereas if we had pay parity, I think it would be possible for part-time work as an adjunct to actually work. And I've done a lot of math. I really appreciated um, the that line from Hunter College of if I only spend 6 minutes on each paper, I'll make $20 an hour. I found myself trying to do a lot of that kind of math recently, trying to figure out, okay, if I teach 3 courses, 4 courses, five courses across different campuses, how much could I make if I maxed it out? Um, and it's just really hard to figure out. And it's really discouraging the way that um, the more time that I put into my teaching, uh, the less valuable my time becomes. Um, and uh, to me, pay parity has to look at that and has to um, make this uh, a job that is viable. Um, we need teachers in the CUNY system. Uh, Adjuncts shouldn't be looked at as people who are simply filling in. We're not substitute teachers. We are professionals, and our time should be respected. Um, so uh, my time matters, especially now that I have a daughter. I'm realizing just how much every minute matters. Um, so I think that CUNY needs to respect our time. So yeah, thanks everybody.
Thank you, and all the best of luck with your child, and hopefully she feels better soon. But thank you also for sharing that very important story. So we're going to move now to Lynn, who is here with us, who's not City College adjunct, but is here with us. So Lynn, I'm gonna let you introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. And going after James, actually, because I remember that we both worked together, right? And when, being both within when we were both at the grad center, where I'm currently on leave, a little bit of grad center purgatory. But we were organizing for full and fair funding for grad workers, right? Right now I'm here at City College. Hello, everyone. And I came from teaching this morning at LaGuardia Community College, where I teach as an adjunct faculty in sociology, urban sociology, and labor community organizing, intuitive sociology, et cetera. I hearing what people are saying. I mean, I'm also the vice president for part-timers for the PSA CUNY. There's folks who come to our CAP meetings probably know, and I'm really, just really been heartened, frankly, at all the work that is being done on so many different campuses, right? As we now in the middle of adjunct spring, an annual, what we do a week where we really try to build the visibility of adjuncts and part-timers, the speak out that Yasmina has organized. I think this is the third or fourth year that this has been done. And this year we're also together working really kind of, really in a very coordinated way with all of the buildup that's happening across CUNY campuses leading into May Day. So I hope to see you all. There's my workers. There we are. Workers Over Billionaires sticker. Hope to see you all tomorrow for May Day at 4:00 in the afternoon at Washington Square Park, and meet us at the New School at 3 if you are able to do that. And that's really important because we are we are, really integral to all of the work that is being done within our union, within our university. And, I mean, people know the statistics. About 60% of classes are taught by adjunct faculty. There's, 11,000 teaching adjuncts, 14,000 total approximately of adjuncts and part-timers. We really uphold the university, but CUNY management, as we have learned over and over again, is completely they're entrenched in this system of really trying to hold on to a system of extreme contingency and a, system of trying to keep us at a low wage and trying to maintain us as, as flexible as possible. At the same time, as many of us are doing this really for decades, right? Teaching, what's the equivalent of full time, doing this for decades, really bringing our knowledge, our experience, our skills to the forefront. And, within our union, we really play an important role. And it's important for us to continue to do that, right? To make sure that, we are, because of the turnover, adjuncts and part-timers, and it's hard to reach people, we still do only have about 50% of people that are union members. But I was just like, blitz, doing the membership blitz at Hunter yesterday. And we talked to somebody who had been there about a year. And she was like, oh, you must have read my mind. I was just thinking about reaching out to the union. Right. So people, if we can find them, we talk to people. It's really important to get as many people as possible engaged as members of our union and engaged, right? And being really part of all the organizing we are doing together, and across titles, because we are a union where we need to build the power overall for ourselves to win, the working conditions that we need as adjuncts and part-timers, and together within like the fight within our union for the university that we need, that our students need, right? And frankly, also within the fight, the broader fight that we have within our society. At a personal level, I will say that I won't go into great detail about my own story, but I did organize did union organizing for a long time. And and a lot of it was with low wage workers. And when I went to graduate school, longer story about how I ended up doing that. I really was a little bit stunned to find myself in some similar positions in terms of contingency, in terms of, being underpaid, et cetera. And right now, because I'm on leave at the Graduate Center and I am not eligible, even though, the PSC actually has one health insurance that's better than many, but we want to strengthen it, right? We're actually, Rutgers is like talking to us about how they can get something similar, but we also do want to make it more secure and strengthen it. So right now I'm paying COBRA to remain on my night shift graduate student worker health insurance, and similar to others, deal with all of the issues of contingency, their expectations of appointments, hoping that things will work out. And that's really a very difficult way to live and work and teach, particularly, what everything that we do is so valuable. So I just want to say, solidarity and power to all of you and to all of us, right, as we build our fights together onward. And, we have a ton of things that we are, really working towards now within over the next couple of years. We also are going into bargaining, and we're going to build that fight as well as we build the fight for democracy, for the society we need, and for the university that we need. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. And thank you for sharing all this and your story. And I will bring, I believe Holly is next. I'm also going to say, if you're here to speak and you're not emailing with me during the week and you want to you can just message me on chat and I will add you to the kind of
Tell them to
to the list. So thank you. But Holly,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Okay, great. It's great to be here with all of you. I mean, this is a great step to building the kind of unity and powerful voice that we need to do. We need to do it within the union, and most importantly, we need to tell management that we are neither invisible nor disposable. My remarks are going to be a little different because I had written something for a recent talk that I gave, so I'm just going to share it. It's on the need for job security, really. That's what I'm focusing on. So my name is Holly Clark. I've been an adjunct at John Jay for more than 30 years. And as we know, at least half of the CUNY faculty teach without sufficient job protection, some with none at all, unequal pay and few benefits, and people have been sharing poignant stories about that. So this adjunctification of the university has been decried for years. Often it is framed as too few tenure track or full-time faculty and too many part-time faculty, with various consequences such as growing work burden on a shrinking full-time faculty in terms of administrative tasks, service duties, advising, etc. And as well, part-time faculty, as others have already shared, are portrayed as less than or less deserving than often than their full-time colleagues. And of course, we know that's not the case. However, this framing disguises what the main problem is within the university. And it's not whether workers are full-time or part-time, it's the difference in their working conditions. We live in a two-tier world. So tenure-track faculty have significant job protection, though less so in this Trump era, while we adjunct faculty face great job uncertainty, are underpaid, and lack equal benefits. But why should ending this two-tier system be a major priority for the union as a whole, for the entire workforce? Why should strong job security, for example, for adjunct faculty be prioritized in this round of bargaining? Not only because it's unfair and unethical, but it undermines union solidarity. It's very hard to have true solidarity when half of the faculty are in an entirely different position. And we need solidarity to fight against management, fight the assault on higher ed, and to fight for, with half of the faculty lacking just cause protection and continuing appointments, academic freedom is on a very shaky foundation. So let's remind ourselves for a moment of the recent poignant example that happened within CUNY. At the end of the spring semester, as many of you know, but maybe not everyone, 4 adjunct faculty members, later called the Fired Four, who were teaching at Brooklyn College and had already been appointed and assigned classes for the fall, were fired by the administration. No justification, no explanation, no due process. And they were barred from teaching anywhere in the CUNY system. Why? For engaging in free speech and peaceful protest in support of their students and Palestine. 6 full-time faculty were also called before their departments by their administrations for questioning. So Brooklyn College, along with Fired For activists from around CUNY, led our union in a major campaign to get the Fired For rehired. And the campaign got national attention and support, and that was fantastic. After 8 months of struggle, 3 of the 4 were rehired in January. The 4th has yet to be rehired, so we still need to fight for that 4th person. But let's pause for a moment and say we recognize we need a workforce that has strong job security. But how best do we get there? Should we simply call for more tenure track lines or get legislation passed to limit the percentage of part-time faculty? I'd say no. These approaches are problematic in a number of ways. I'm going to propose something more radical. And that is that we must take an approach that I've labeled the embrace, not replace approach. Simply said, we embrace us. We embrace the existing adjunct faculty. We must demand and strengthen job protections for people already teaching here. For these colleagues, not simply replace them with new other workers, such as new tenure track faculty from around the country. We need to move existing adjunct faculty to stable appointments regardless of workload, whether they work part-time or full-time, teach one class or three, with a presumption of reappointment, just cause protection, seniority rights, a path to full-time work, and a path to continuing appointments. This is central to our mission, has to be central to our mission, not only really at this institution, but around the country. No other public sector institution allows half of its workforce to be on insecure appointments or remain probationary for years on end. No other public sector institution. And yet in academia, we've been so accustomed to this arrangement that it's gotten normalized. But this need not be normal. So as I mentioned, the two strategies that unions have sometimes used are problematic. The strategy of a call for more tenure track clients, unless there's a plan for addressing the needs of the existing faculty or minimizing any collateral damage to existing adjunct faculty, can mean that those faculty are simply replaced by new hires. If the new hires come from the existing faculty, that's better. That's kind of a hire from within strategy. If they come from outside CUNY, then they're getting replaced by someone who else around the country. The percentage approach of getting legislation passed that limits the percentage of adjuncts is also problematic unless it were to be accompanied by provisions that protect the existing faculty or move them into the secure positions. That's certainly one way to go. So what do we really need to fight for contractually? I'd say first, prioritize the fight for job protection for existing faculty. It's one of the most important tasks of any union, protect its members' jobs. Second, get the rest of the faculty and staff on board in this fight and help to say why this is important for all of us in the fight, the heavy fights that we're now faced with. Third, ensure that the job security provisions contain the features I mentioned above. And fourth, develop guidelines for a new approach to hiring new tenure track and full-time faculty by considering hiring in ways that minimize the impact on existing faculty. As I mentioned, this could include hire from within provisions or pacing such new hires based on attrition. And fifth, we should pursue just cause legislation. If we're in any legislative initiative, just cause protection is important. And lastly, in the interim, let's just declare that we are one faculty and one staff and act accordingly. Let's undo the normalization. And one way we could start, it's a small move, but it could be helpful, is let's not use the term faculty unless we truly mean all the faculty. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Holly, so much for that. I believe we have Paul next and then Chloe, I think. So, and I'm sorry, I'm clicking. I'm trying to get us all in. So Paul.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Paul from BMCC, right?
Yeah, thanks, everybody. My name's Paul. I'm an adjunct lecturer in the science department at BMCC. Thanks, Holly, because I really like that approach because I'm someone, I did 4 years of a graduate program and I left ABD because I was miserable in it and I really wanted to teach. And so, to me, I don't think we should have to go through a grueling graduate degree to be able to teach at the college level. I'm teaching at the college level right now. Many of us are with master's degrees. Going through the sort of toxic and all the sorts of institutional obstacles of a graduate program should not be a prerequisite for any sort of stability in teaching at the college. And so I really like the kind of de-emphasis on, we just need more tenure track lines. I think myself and most other adjuncts that I talk to at BMCC, a lot of us maybe aren't interested in doing research. We just want a full-time job doing exactly what we're doing right now and being able to support our lives with this. So I really appreciate that, Holly. Here at BMCC, I'm going to keep this quick because I do have to run soon, but I've been the adjunct liaison for this past year at BMCC. And really the kind of thing that I'm trying to focus on most is building more of a community for adjuncts. I think sometimes adjuncting at its worst is like you come to campus, you teach your class, and then you leave. And there's no sense of belonging. There's no sense of like, you know, acceptance. It doesn't even feel like a workplace as much as it's just a gig, which is kind of how it's treated. And so you know, it was hard because a lot of us were very busy. Oh, and another thing I noticed is I would talk to my fellow adjuncts in the science department adjunct office about the union, and a lot of people are members already. A lot of people are members. A lot of people are like passively supportive, but like there's still not a lot of engagement. And I think there's a variety of reasons for that. One meaning being that we're just also damn busy, right? We're also damn busy. We teach classes at multiple places. But there's another aspect of, again, the adjunct belonging that I think is sometimes lacking. And so today, and if there's any other BMCC adjuncts on this call today, this afternoon, hopefully you saw, but this afternoon we're having an adjunct social. There hasn't been one in the last year that I've been here at BMCC, but it's just the whole point at first is just to like get to know our other adjunct coworkers and build more of a community there. And when I went around to different adjunct offices with the flyer and I talked to different people that I met, and I sent out emails to like all sorts of different adjuncts who I knew their emails, like there is a ton of support. Honestly, you know, organizing is hard work, and a lot of times we all know that sending an email is completely insufficient. But even in this case, just through sending an email, there were some people who replied that just how happy they were to like even know that there was an effort to sort of create more of a community. Because a lot of times, you know, we're treated as second class employees a lot of times. And I think inadvertently we can sometimes feel like second class union members even as a result. And so I really think it's been a very promising, a lot of excitement around this effort to create just a space just for adjuncts to like build community, share just our frustrations, share different issues that we're facing. And then hopefully we'll try to convert that momentum into more of like a lasting committee, maybe even, that is purely focused on the issues that adjuncts face here at BMCC. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Paul. And I'm glad we heard also from BMCC and Paul. I believe Chloe is next. So Chloe, please.
Yeah, hi everyone. Can you hear me? Yep. Okay, good. So happy to be here with you all. I too don't have a whole lot of time. A lot is going on over here. I'm also not wearing red. So this is, where's my camera? That's red. Union proud. So just a few thoughts here. I'm going to give you a little bit of an update of what we've been up to here at City Tech. And then just a few things that moving forward next semester I hope to fight for. So I'll just say it right off the bat. Like, let's make adjuncts really union proud, right? We can't be proud in a two-tiered system. Like, that's a little bit of a contradiction of terms. And as a liaison here at City Tech, one of our mandates is to, increase membership, which I fully believe in, and I'm going to fight really hard to do next semester. But wouldn't it be awesome to be able to say, yeah, we're fighting for 13 grand, 15 grand, whatever it is we all decide on, and really make it, really make this union work for us in the city that is frankly not affordable. That's the city's mandate. Can adjuncts be part of that? Like, what if being an adjunct were actually a good job? So busy year. I want to shout out to Carol Harris, our chapter chair, who's actually in a meeting right now. She's been really, really, really kind and onboarding me and including me in many, many different things. I'm actually going to be talking at labor management on behalf of adjuncts on several issues. One is pay for new adjuncts, but also pay for, and this affects full-time people, but it's really, really not transparent and frankly, probably corrupt and illegal how we get paid for extra work. Let's say you do committee work or WAC or this semester in OER. It's really hard to trace. There's really zero, I mean, I don't want to say a zero system, but a very, very opaque system. Um, so I'll be speaking on that and hoping that we can tweak it rather, what we need is actually fundamental change, obviously. But in the meantime, actually just argue for transparency and communication and tweaking the system as much as we can. And I'd like to do that with promotions as well. So we've had several people, me, myself included, not clear on what adjuncts need to do to get their promotions. We've learned from the survey that that affects women and people of color mostly. I actually reached out to my chair, who, good person, never wrote back to me. Just right. So part of what I'm going to be pushing at labor management is that full-time chairs, that is a rotating position, get the information every single semester, what it entails to get a promotion and some guidelines. Like, I don't even know what I need to present. Do I do the 3-leaf binder? I mean, this is actual real money, thousands of dollars every semester. And yeah, we need that to be advertised and we need that to be systematized a bit. And we need full-time, chairs to understand that that is our right. And like, that needs to happen. Also exciting kind of new community and hoping to build on that in at City Tech. We have very active, shout out to Adam Math Department and George and Daniela who have been getting involved. Really exciting to work with them next semester. Some of the thoughts on the table would be a listserv for adjuncts. Want to talk to Kate about what the best way to do that is. Marlena just reached out about an adjunct office at City Tech, and these are all things that, once my period as a liaison, like I can pass the baton on that. Like that's a legacy that I can leave, or we can all together leave at City Tech. All right, everyone. Peace. I wish I could be there tomorrow.
Mayday.
What?
Is the race? Yeah.
So, thank you, Chloe. Did you, sorry, I'm like, did you want to add anything else?
No, I'm good. I'm just sad
Oh.
I can't be there tomorrow. Oh,
I know. So I believe Laura was next. So Laura, and I'm sorry, I forgot what campus you're on. So tell us.
Hi, hi everyone. I'm Laura Stevens. I am an adjunct liaison. I'm an adjunct assistant professor at Medgar Evers College, and I'm also the adjunct liaison for Medgar. And I'm actually zooming in from my job at St. Francis College. Ah, the life of an adjunct. But it's, you know, thank you, Chloe and Paul, for all giving all the and everyone who shared all the different information about, and sharing their stories. It's so important to have that, to let people know what the stories of adjuncts are. And, at Medgar, I'm working as the adjunct liaison to get as many people registered who are not currently members so that we can continue to build power. Because when we sit at the contract bargaining table, if we're sitting there with 90% of the adjuncts as members, it sends a clear message. It's like, no, and Chloe, this is part of what you were talking about. No, you can't mess with adjuncts. We are faculty and we bring the skills and the education and all of the talent and understanding to help our students succeed. And so that needs to be honored. So as an adjunct liaison, as an adjunct professor, I'm going to continue to do the work because my students deserve the rich public education, that they deserve. I want to bring that to them. So I'm going to continue to work with that. I'm going to show up at labor management meetings and say, basically, what the hell are you doing for your adjuncts? And continue to stay active. I've been stopped in the hallway by somebody who recognized me as an adjunct liaison. They're like, Laura, I need to talk to you about something. And I'm grateful that I'm able to do that, to be, if I'm a lightning rod, so be it, but I want to continue to, as I said, I want to continue to do this work and just represent adjuncts and let people know it's like, no, you can't treat us like a bunch of bums. We come to the table and we are faculty and we need to be treated as such. Thanks so much, Esmina, for giving me the opportunity to speak. As I said, I'm zooming in from St. Francis, but my other adjunct home. And thank you for the opportunity. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, Laura.
Yeah, that's the most important.
So Danny, who's at City College and who has found a quiet spot. So it's loud here. There's Danny. Okay, go ahead.
Hey, sorry, it took me a second to get off mute. So I know I look like I'm in a little prison here in the corner. I'm at City College. Actually, though, it's because it is loud here. There's a whole bunch of us. I'm gonna show everybody the City College crew for 1 second. We have a whole little table. We're getting support from, this is all of us here. Yep. And it's too noisy there, so I'm going back to a corner to talk. I just want to say a couple things. So I am one of two adjunct liaisons. We're lucky enough to have two at City College. And we've been here for the two of us have been doing it for a couple of years. So we were able to start an adjunct organizing committee last year that now has about 20, 25 people who have been like in and out, but really like a good core, like 12 plus people that are very regularly part of it, that really are building a community here as well and helping to, which is, I think, a huge part in addition to all the serious material things we lack as adjuncts. We often lack community, right? And because we're excluded from the university in so many ways. We're not part of faculty governance. We're not part of the faculty senate. And we want, and everything people are talking about today is how much we want to be there for our students. We want to be building these institutions that only wants our labor for the hours that we're here, and then has no regard for us. So one of the things our adjunct committee, we did a survey last semester, like a very detailed one, a couple of things that came out that really got us thinking a lot were, one, how many adjuncts have said within the last couple of years that they're thinking like they have to leave the profession, not just their school, but the entire profession. It was like over 50% have like thought about that in the last couple of years. And at the same time, in response to a different question, most adjuncts said they find this job really fulfilling. And you put those two things together, that we find this work fulfilling, and yet we feel like we might have to leave. And it's ridiculous. I think we need to raise our expectations that this job should be the kind of job where we can stay. But I think that's the way universities they've hollowed themselves out. You know what I mean? Like, they've replaced so much of their workers with people that they don't even let be part of the school, and who are probably have to turn over, many of them, within a couple of years. And then when you get a government in Washington, D.C. that decides it wants to go to war on universities, there's no one there. They don't actually have the people to fight. I don't know if people have noticed, but K through 12 public schools have done a much better job fighting the Trump administration than universities have. I'm not saying it's been perfect, but when Trump wants to go after trans students, when Trump wants to go after immigrants, there's all these school districts around the country that have been like giving them the middle finger, and universities have rolled over time and time again. It's because public schools, K through 12, have full-time teachers that are there, that are part of the institution, that represent the community, that give those institutions a backbone, that don't let their superintendents roll over and sell out nearly as easily. Universities, they've hollowed themselves out. You know what I mean? Like, well, the majority of people teaching in places like CUNY are part-time, aren't even plugged into the university. When the White House comes after us, the they've hollowed themselves out, and it's administrators standing up, and we know how quickly they roll over. And I don't mean that's not disrespecting the full-time faculty, of course, but when you have half of them have been essentially replaced over the years with part-time faculty, this is something they've done to themselves, and now I think we're seeing the cost of it. So I think the importance of building up adjunct power, it's for us, it's for our students, but it's also for higher education in general, because the only way we're going to defend higher education is if the people that are part of it actually are invested and are part of these communities. So just want to, and I've been part of this Speak Out now for the last few years. I've seen it grow. I've seen, you know what I mean? I've seen how much more it's getting people involved. There's so many things on a daily basis that are so depressing, and it feels like we're up against so much, but sort of seeing the progress we're making here is very inspiring. And I thank everybody for being here. And especially for Yasmina and the other people who organized this today. Thank you.
Thank you. I have to say, it's always actually, I find it really moving to actually to connect with everybody and hear from everybody on different campuses. So let me see. We're kind of a little bit out of order. I am, Marcia, did you want to go next?
I want to be very quick. I'm
Okay.
Marcia.
Yeah.
And I was the vice president for many years of the PSC part-time workers. I'm retired. I want to say a couple of things. The gig economy is anti-worker. The gig economy is anti-worker. And it should be, and the fact that the universities are using it to save money and commitment is unacceptable. And I agree with the things that Holly said. This should be our focus in bargaining. We will not accept a gig economy. You cannot do this. You cannot do this and teach our children, to tell our children your teachers are going to be treated like excess labor, like fake labor. No, that's it. That's the message.
Thank you. And yes, we are not gig workers. This is not me. So thank you. So I want to check in if Pam can go on. I'm not sure if she is hearing me. Okay. Are you ready to go? I know it's a little bit out of order, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I am Pam Stenberg. I'm not at City College, but I am a City College adjunct, and I've been one for, I don't know, probably almost 15 years, if not 15 years. And, I work a lot on unemployment, and I really want to put in a push today for unemployment, because those people who had 3-year appointments no longer, according to the DOL, at least some of the cases that have been found, no longer have the kind of assurance of a job year to year that they used to have. So it's really important that I know a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to have to claim unemployment. I don't want to go on government benefits, blah, blah, blah. I want you to know that the university pays you directly from their funds, right? And this is part of your work, you know, to be unemployed during the summer is part of the system. And the university is paying those benefits directly. They do not have a fund that they go into. So I think it's really important that we, you know, kind of adjust. I don't want to be on the dole or whatever it is that you think it is, and say this is part of this is part of the system that we work in, and that those unemployment benefits are owed to us, right? And I think, you know, because I've always heard people, sorry, it's my cat in the background. And I think that it's really important that we think about it. Thank you, Marcia, for, you know, we won't accept the gig economy. I was just thinking when you were saying that, how in some ways the university was well ahead of the curve. I mean, you know, we had gig workers from I guess from the 80s on, you know, the adjuncts. We have had part-time faculty who taught year after year without another full-time job since probably, I mean, the 80s. And you know, who tried to survive on the money that we got. So we were well ahead of the curve here, and it is so entrenched in our system, that, you know, the lift isn't easy, and the work isn't easy. But, you know, to constantly make the point that we are not adjuncts, we are not adjunct to anything. We are essential to the running of the university. Part-time faculty is essential to this university running. If we were to all leave, they would not have enough people to teach their classes. And that's something we always have to remember. The other thing that I want to talk or just say is that we're not part of governance. We do not have a voice in governance anywhere. And I know people don't necessarily think that's very important. And I'm sure part of full-timers will say, well, governance is kind of, you know, giving it up to the corporate model, but we don't have a say at all. We don't have a say in our departments. We don't have, you know, even if you have a say in your department, and Danny can attest to this, even if you have a say, you don't have a vote. We have no vote anywhere on CUNY's 26 campuses. We have no vote. And so we don't have any kind of voice in the running of the university. And this is by design, right? It is not by accident. It is by design that all of the people who teach part-time, although I teach full-time here, I teach between City College and Ostos Community College. So I teach full-time. And we don't have a vote anywhere. Well, I have a vote at the University Faculty Senate, but that is in contradiction to the actual bylaws of the university. And, you know, I think that we need the kind of recognition that we have not had for, you know, since the bylaws were conceived. We do not have any recognition. So, you know, along with our union being the only place that we have, the union is it, right? The union, we have a vote, we vote in on the contracts, we vote on, you know, we vote at the delegate assembly, we have votes. There is no distinction between full-time and part-time, but that's the only place that it exists. Right. So I always want to remind people that the only place that we have a fully accredited voice is at the union is really important for people to remember, because, you know, we can affect change there. We need to organize, we need the power base, and we have it. We have 10,000 adjuncts, more
11,000.
right, 11. But, you know, but that means being organized and being together. And that's very difficult when people are, what was said earlier, on campus for one class or two classes, and then they leave because they have other jobs, other, you know, other ways that they have to support themselves. But I think the message can't be any clearer than we have our voice in the union where we don't have one elsewhere, and we need to use it often, loudly, and proudly.
Thank you. Thank you, Pam. So we have now somebody else from City College who is sitting right next to me. So it's kind of funny to see her on the screen, but I'm gonna spotlight Ariel. Ariel, we're also in the same department, so here we go.
Okay, yes, with my faux fake background. Um, but I am speaking to what I have spoken to for the last few speak outs, which is a conversation that the universities don't want to have, obviously, and that speaks to the modification and corporatization of universities, which is we're treated as a kind of means to an end to making the bottom line. And we're seeing massive growth of administration across the country in universities, and then the adjunctification. But where does that leave it for students? Because I know my students don't look at me and say, oh, my professor is an adjunct, so therefore I can't ask her to be the chair for my student organization. She's not going to be on campus as regularly. She doesn't have access to different committees or maybe an understanding of higher functioning parts of the department because she's not included in departmental meetings, et cetera, like that. They don't see that. They come into my classroom and I'm their professor, just like anybody else is their professor. And they want to be able, very reasonably, understandably, to access all the things that they believe a professor can help them with. And I always, and I think most of us always do, try to meet them where they are. I know that I write a lot of recommendation letters. I try to connect students with the right people for the questions they have. But my underlying point is that by not including us in the university in a holistic manner and treating us like we're disposable, they're also selling the students a bad faith contract for their education, because these students are expecting to be able to come and access everything they need to and have that full college experience. But then the teacher that they connected with the most has such little job security that then they're applying to grad school and that professor's not even on campus to write them a recommendation letter anymore. And the university's not renewing their contract or whatever it is. But there's a whole plethora of things. And I think all of us want to be able to fully show up for our students and be fully engaged, but we're not fully compensated for all of that extra work. There's a lot of gatekeeping around different aspects that would allow us to really show up for our students in all those ways. And so I feel like most of us choose to kind of bite the bullet and do the work anyway, but it also just leaves this chasm and this gap for students. I think that our students and us deserve more. I think that we deserve to have that relationship between students and professors supported by the institutions that we work for, and to have that relationship valued and really recognized about. It's a really important part of your college journey, those relationships you have with your professors, those connections you make, the relationships that you form, and the knowledge that is given, and that is not valued by the university. It's shown that we are lesser than, and that's not fair to the students and it's not fair to us. And so that's just always what I feel like I want to speak about when we come to this time of year. So thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you, Ariel. And I see, Kevin, you have a hand up. Is it a quick question or a quick comment? Do you want to share? And I would say quickly.
Yeah, quickly. So it's a specific, sorry, let me get there we go. So it's sorry, I'm walking down the street. I'm an adjunct at Baruch. I have been an adjunct their assistant professor for 8 years. And I wanted to raise one specific thing that I think goes to some of the general points. that have been made something that I experienced, which is I was asked to teach a course that I hadn't taught before and hadn't been offered for several semesters, and devoted a great deal of time to preparing for that course that was to be taught this semester. And at the last minute, the class was canceled for under enrollment. So of course, there's no compensation for all the time that was put into preparing for that class, because as everyone knows, a lot of the time, as I say, I hadn't taught it before. And also there was a lot of uncertainty over what was the threshold for the number of seats that had to be filled for the course to happen. And we knew that we were on the cusp, but, and this wasn't at the department level. I have no issue with my department. This is at the school level. It's the Arts and Sciences School at Baruch. And they're like, oh, well, they want more. It wasn't quite, so we had 20 seats. We had filled 11. We got to 13, fell back to 11, including one student I recruited from another campus. And then at the end they said, oh, let's make one last push, And then it turns out, but they want 16. And we didn't find out until, so by now it was 10 days before the semester started. And I had to keep preparing as if it was going to happen, but I didn't know if it was going to happen. And then ultimately it didn't happen, but there was no transparency at the school level as far as what was, the seat count they were looking for, when we were going to make a final call and whether it was go or no go. And, as I say, so all that went in. It's not only unfair to the students, but now it's unfair to the instructor, because who gets no compensation for all the work. So I don't know whether that's a contractual issue or something that can be brought up between contracts, but I just think it's very unfair to all concerned that practices like that are allowed to happen.
Thank you, Kevin. And thank you for sharing that. And I think our next person is Jim, I believe, or actually, so Jim, are you okay if the other Kevin goes for like 2 minutes?
Yeah, sure.
Because he started.
Sure.
So Kevin, go, because I know your class is about to start, so go.
Yeah, hi everybody. Very sorry. I was in transit, and I guess that, that speaks to the conditions of adjuncts and just constantly being on the move. And that's how I felt like working in multiple locations. I teach a college now class it's off campus and it's at the high school. But I hope I don't repeat some of because I wasn't able to get here earlier, and I did want to emphasize, the need for CUNY just to be a sanctuary campus, and the urgency of the moment to really for CUNY to take actions, like concrete actions that will ensure that ICE cannot get on our campuses, that our students are safe. I've had many students that have reached out to me and have expressed, that their loved ones or guardians were detained this creates these types of stressors, I think, really impact not only their educational development, but just their holistic development as young adults. And adjuncts, I think, are really on the front line because, we work with these students very closely, and we are sometimes like the person that they can open up to. So it's labor that often it doesn't go, it's not taken into account, right, in terms of like our teaching responsibilities and duties. So that's just something I wanted to echo. And yeah, just solidarity with everyone here. And that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you. And we teach that class, but also, yes, I myself ran actually to start this from a class. Jim.
Yes. Okay.
I'm trying to, oh, there you are.
I'm on the top here, at least. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Can I start? Is that okay? Yes? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you very much, all of you, for letting me speak my own sad story here. But it's a story I think that can and perhaps is affecting many of you at this time. First of all, I was an adjunct at John Jay College in sociology for over 25 years. I retired in 2016. And again, I've just gotten on the Zoom call here, so I missed most of what everybody else has been talking about. But the last 5, 10 minutes, whatever I've been on, I've gotten the same feelings from the speakers that I had when I was teaching there, again, 20, 30 years ago. So things are different, but yet they remain the same in terms of administration attitude and so on. So let me again try to be brief and very specific here. As I said, I retired as an adjunct in 2016. I've been using the John Jay email system for obviously the time that I was teaching here, as well as the 10 years since I've been retired. And then again, we were told to make the transition. I tried to do that and so on. I contacted the IT department because I was having trouble. My mail was cut off. I could not get into my recent email. I couldn't get it over that I had all kinds of important messages, papers, and etc. that I couldn't access. So IT tried very hard to figure out what was going on. They eventually told me to I needed to get a special number from Human Resources. I contacted them. They said they couldn't give it to me. I then contacted the IT again, and out of just luck, one of the IT people mentioned that, and I might as well mention names here. Joseph Laub was the faculty member at John Jay, who was responsible or who was largely involved working on the transition. So I proceeded to send Joseph a number of very polite, civil emails, just requesting help on this and try to appeal to him and to get back to me. He never did. He never did. I have a series of emails which I've forwarded to Elizabeth Hovey, and we'll get back to her in just a minute because she's the only one that has really stood up for me and presumably for many of the others that may be in my situation or about to get into that situation. Your emails are not your own. They belong to them, to the administration. They won't let you have it. Okay, that's the bottom line. I then proceeded and wrote and got in touch with the provost office. I was very, very pleasant there. I sent the administrative aide assistant there a number of very nice emails. She said, well, I'm going to see what I can do. Contacting Joseph Loeb again, a few other people, nothing. She then, gave me a runaround and told me I've got to contact IT again. So I turned to the union. Elizabeth has been extremely helpful. She's gone to bat. She's written some very articulate, again, very pleasant, civil emails to Loeb, I get somebody named Flower. I don't have the emails in front of me here, but she's contacted the administrative people that would be able to do something about it. Okay, so that's my story. It's just part of an attitude that adjuncts don't really matter. We can get away with whatever we want to get away with them. And at this point, I understand, just talking to Elizabeth just briefly, there's another meeting that she's going to be having, I guess, in about 2-3 weeks. And she's going to bring this up again. I hope that many of you, I know another colleague of mine, Susan Apatow, who was an adjunct but now is full-time, is also having trouble with her getting into her emails, and perhaps that's been resolved. I don't know. But again, this is not just me, although I'm obviously involved in this. It's very painful. It takes a lot of time. I don't have to tell you of a lot of time trying to retrace your steps and figure out who you've sent things to, and you've lost very, very, very important information correspondence. So I hope that all of you out there listening to this will, in solidarity, put your voices forward about this issue too. And I know Elizabeth is trying her best, and I very much appreciate that for all of us. And I think short of it, I'm ready to have a lawsuit if this doesn't come about, because I am, excuse my, I am totally pissed. This is not the way to deal with somebody. Some of the empty suits higher up can probably figure this out, press a button, and voila, that's it. I've got my own email account now. I told them I will sign off on anything you want me to sign off on. I don't need student information, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you get the point. Again, I don't want to take up too much time. Thank you for this opportunity. I hope this resonates, and I hope we all stick together on this.
Thank you, and thank you for bringing this actually a very important issue. I know that when I was let go from the BCC at the time, I lost my email and like all the content when the transfer happens. So even if you don't retire, like this can happen, but it sounds horrendous. So
It's part of the
hopefully-
contract. It's part of the contract that they can let you go when you retire or when you are not on
Right.
payroll anymore. It's part of the contract, so it would
Right.
have to be factually argued. You're not gonna win that lawsuit.
Yeah.
You'll waste a lot of money. You have no.
Thank you,
right-
Marcia. Thank you, Marcia. I really want to say, and I'm sorry, I don't want to start the
Sure.
crosstalk because we have half an hour and more speakers who are coming on. But it is a really an important issue because people don't think about retirement. Like people don't think about the fact that adjuncts retire and like what happens, and that is often dropped in the conversation. I do want to bring on, I believe Zabby, who is from John Jay, is the next. So Zabby, are you on there or can you connect?
Hi, can you hear me? You handled it very skillfully before. We have one screen in the in our meeting room with audio that we can't turn off and one screen with a close-up camera. So I'm going to look at my own computer and maybe you'll pin that. Hi, I'm glad Jim Breto's got to tell his story. I suspected that a lot of our adjunct siblings already suffered from, shall we say, email insecurity, because I am curious, are there any other campuses where email was secure? I know Marcia's more informed about many things than I am, and I think you're saying, Marcia, that it's in the contract that we're not guaranteed. But past practice at John Jay, we did have it. And they did, in a labor management meeting of at least 3 or 4 years ago, they said, we are not cutting off emails. But the cunification of our campuses led to this semester the transition. And so all of our email is now in charge of CUNY, which has definitely added to the problems when adjuncts got cut off. The reference that he made to that Jim Freto's made to another faculty member is a retired faculty member who had set up something to forward all her emails. They cut that off and she can't get forwarding. She's been giving out her John Jay address for years. They've cut her off and so far have said there's nothing that can be done. I do think that they have the capacity to at least let him, Jim Freto's, look at his old emails. They should be able to let this other faculty member look at the messages that they didn't let forward just to see what came in. Because even if the contract says one thing, past practice and past statements about what's important should have some bearing. The other thing I just wanted to bring to people's attention is that we want job security. It's really great that the PSC Executive Council has now said that they want, is it a reasons list? It was previously, Lynn posted something about this, that at the American Federation of Teachers, we are asking for just cause or a reasons list for anybody that loses their job. We also would like a kill fee so we could attend to the thing that Kevin McKenna was talking about, getting cut off earlier. But I want to take my remaining 30 seconds to say, we do have something that not enough adjuncts know about. We do have that the last contract guaranteed multi-year contract eligibility, multi-year appointment eligibility for those people who have been teaching within a program. CUNY has totally sandbagged on this. They act like there aren't programs, and they come up, at least on our campus, came up with an incredibly inadequate list. So we are still negotiating with them. We're still fighting for programs to be identified so that if anybody teaches for 3 years within one department and their program switches leadership and they teach for another 3 years in the other, they should qualify for what we would call programmatic job security. So not enough people know that that's what we want. We do have some things now that we need to lift up. And the related thing is that it stinks that we don't automatically have a 3-year appointment. But since management acted like we weren't going to get a contract at all if we kept insisting on it, what we ended up with was a 2-year appointment that can get extended to 3 years. And that's part of what's happening right now. All these chairs, who after all hired the adjuncts in the first place, or their predecessor did, all these chairs just have to say, oh, they got a 2-year, let's make it a 3-year. And so that is in effect right now. We have till May 31st for every adjunct who qualified and got a 2-year appointment can easily make it a 3. And I don't think we have figures, but it had been the case at the outset, and it probably is still pretty close to it, that people who are eligible, overwhelmingly, more than 90%, I think it was 96%. We had one person not get it, and they seemed to disappear when 3-year appointments first became available. So departments do want to keep their adjuncts, and we want a contract so that they essentially can keep those adjuncts for 3 years. But all of us need to know about it because there are new department chairs all the time. So I've been talking on a big screen. I hope you could hear me.
But yeah. Yes, of course.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, Zabby. And I believe Hannah is next. So Hannah, who is also here from City College. I'm going to do this quickly because we're having all of us kind of hanging out here and people have been coming and going. And also we had some visitors from other campuses. So that's exciting. Hannah, go.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be. Oh, no. Sorry, I'm here. Can I ask you to turn that on?
The chat's right there.
Okay, so sorry. Hi, everyone. I'm Hannah. I've been adjuncting at City College since 2020. It's been a really fantastic experience a lot of the time. I wanted to speak to the survey that we did. I know that Danny and Ariel mentioned it maybe a little bit ago. We really wanted to explore the visibility of adjuncts, and what we found was that there's a lot of overlapping experiences that we're having. So much of the labor that we do is emotional labor. We're the ones that are making connections with students. We're the ones that are, writing their letters of recommendation, doing a lot of uncompensated work. And we wanted to get a better idea of what the subjective experience of being an adjunct was really like. And this is a complement to some of the more quantitative work that's being done, and including a survey that's coming up, demographic based and things like that. So, from here, we really just wanted to try to understand the narrative play of being an adjunct and want to sort of qualitatively explore people's experiences. So we have a lot of great data that we're hopefully going to be able to share with everyone and use as a way to politicize some of these issues and organize around them. So I'm honored to be with all of you today and to be kind of standing up for our work. And it's something that I think is really worth fighting for. So I'll end there and just pass on to the next person. And thanks.
Thank you, Hannah. I think the next person we have is Renee, who is at Hunter. So Renee is coming, I think.
Good to see you all.
Yeah, nice to see you. Take care.
Renee, unmute.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thanks. I want to talk about becoming more active in my union because I am someone who has been a PCS member for 19 years, but I've been an active member for less than 1 year. So I've been an adjunct for about 19 years, and I was I became active about I would say November last year, and even with the support of my campus organizer Ava, the learning curve feels really steep. Last month, Ava and I did outreach on our campus, and while she was signing up a new member, I was talking with another adjunct about the demographic survey that CAP put out so that we could get more information for contract negotiations. And I'm just trying to ask someone to take a survey. And the person I was trying to talk to, they had experience organizing over at the grad center. And despite the fact that we were both trying to be present, we were just so anxious. These organizing conversations can be so nerve-wracking. And I just there we were, the two of us, we were just hunched over, laughing nervously, just about how awkward it felt. We were how can we be two grown people who can command a classroom, and stand up in front of people and talk for a living, and we can't even figure out how to connect with a colleague? And somehow I remembered to ask them, do you want to come to our next union chapter meeting? And here's the thing, they showed up. They showed up for the meeting, and when I saw them walk in, it was something shifted. Ava always says you'll get it, something will shift. And she was great. When my colleague walked in, we were both still kind of nervous and anxious, but we were anxious together. And then at the same meeting, I met another adjunct, and she came in so hot. She was so angry, and she was yelling, and she was saying, every time you tell us next contract, and she had 15 years of teaching at CUNY, maybe more, she said. She has a PhD, she teaches 9 credits a semester, plus summers, plus online classes at another university. And I was just sitting there doing the math and looking at her rage was just a dying fire on her face. And I asked her just the question that I learned how to ask, which is what do you want? And she didn't say professor. She said something stable, something named, something that says you are part of making this place. So how can we get it? When I asked her that, she lit up, and she was just we gotta go old school. We need flyers in every classroom, the whole building. I know how to do this. I've worked on campaigns before. And watching hope move across her face, it just made me feel my job matters. And that's just the conversation. Well, oh no, that's a conversation, 2 questions. What do you want and how can we get it? And then just get out of the way. I still get nervous when I talk to people. I still want to cover my mouth with my hand. But even today, Ava said, just be present. And that's what I'm learning. I'm learning that organizing is about being present. The person across from you, the one with 15 years and a PhD and a fire that will go out, she already knows what she wants. She just needs someone to ask, who is the union? It's us. We are the union.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I believe we now I'm just gonna ask, I know Karina, you just got in, but are you ready to talk? You feel, and I know you had to dash from Brooklyn, from Hunter, so yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I can if you want me to, but I'm also happy to wait. So either
You
way.
are actually exactly at time, so perfect.
Perfect. Thank you, and thank you, Yasmina and everyone for organizing the Adjunct Speak Out. It's a real, honor to be here. I really appreciate all the organizing work that goes into this. And I'm just so grateful to be included. And I just came on the tail end of the last speaker, but that was so powerful and reminds me of just, how important it is for us, in addition to all of the issues, the material issues that we're fighting for in terms of, better pay and job security, and all of the adjunct demands, that it's also about dignity and respect as well. And I think so often as adjuncts we feel sort of excluded from some of the spaces within the within the university, and sort of I think that is really crucial, that we see each other, we're there for each other, and also that we are active in the union, because the union is such a powerful force for us to fight for our demands. And I know myself, and what I wanted to say a few words about, as one of the fired four adjuncts, that it's been so incredibly important for me to have the union behind me, and for all of us, all of the four adjuncts who were fired, three of whom, including myself, have been reinstated in large part because of the collective struggle that the union has really led. So sometimes you think people might think it's not important until you realize, it is, because, collective struggle is how we win. And the more, there's safety in numbers also. So the more of us who are involved in this kind of work and organizing work, the more protection we have. For myself, I'll say that we were fired last June. I received my non-reinstatement letter on June 13th of last year. It came as a shock because, like everyone here, all the adjuncts that I know at CUNY, we are all committed and dedicated to the work that we do. We love teaching at this institution. And I have had been teaching for 8 years, both at John Jay College and at Brooklyn College. I've always seen it as an honor and a privilege to teach at CUNY. Majority working class, Black and Brown, and immigrant students. And I love the communities as well that CUNY is embedded within. So it came as a real shock for me to have lost my position. As we all know, as adjuncts, we don't have strong contractual protections. We can be fired for any reason or no reason at all. The university never didn't give us a reason, didn't give myself a reason. Only one of the 4 fired adjuncts was given a reason, and it was a bogus reason of conduct unbecoming, which is a term that was used, and that's the 4th adjunct who hasn't been reinstated. And that's a term that comes from the McCarthyite era, the 40s and 50s, when many CUNY professors were purged for, either their alliance or membership within the Communist Party, or just being on the left and fighting for social justice, and therefore being associated with the Communist Party. And now we see that kind of a purge continuing, though, that kind of McCarthyite repression, and the union called it a purge and called it a McCarthyite repression, which it is. And, it's being used today to essentially justify the repression, the firing or disciplining or investigations into faculty, staff, and also students who speak out against the genocide in Gaza, or for Palestine liberation and solidarity with Palestine. And, also what we've been saying all along is that we're the canaries in the coal mine, and that if they're doing it now for people speaking out on Palestine, tomorrow it could be for people speaking out for DEI, for speaking out for LGBTQ rights, immigrant rights. So we know that these are, these struggles are all linked. And I just want to say that it's really important, because we talk a lot about the Palestine exception to academic freedom. So people, have academic freedom, except when it comes to talking about the history of Palestine, talking about what's happening now, talking about the genocide. But it's also an adjunct exception in a way, because of our weak contractual protections, we have less academic freedom rights. So it's so crucial that we fight for adjunct rights, not just because, we deserve them for, all the kinds of reasons that people have been talking about today, but also because of academic freedom, because we will not have the full academic freedom rights if have such weak contractual protections. So I would just add that. Thank you so much. Oh, and I just want to say, please, if you haven't already, we continue to fight for our fired fourth colleague and comrade. She has, it's horrible, because she has been denied her livelihood. She is on a blacklist and banned from teaching at CUNY, which is outrageous. And she's denied health care as a result. So, we need to continue fighting for her. Sign the action letter for the fired fourth. You'll find it on the PSC website. If you haven't already, make sure everyone has signed it. Come out to all the actions that we organize. Follow the fired fourth on Instagram, fired for Instagram page as well. And you can keep up to date with the campaign. Thank you so much again. This is it was really wonderful to be able to join you all.
Thank you so much, Karina, and just the strength and the inspiration that Fire Force has provided for all of us in the past year, and just getting us all to move and start reacting was incredible. And I hope the fourth is back as hired by CUNY soon. So yes, there is a link to reinstate the fired fourth. I also want to say there's an amazing chat going on, and since apparently only I can save it, I will save it. And if you email me, and I put my email in chat, if you email me, I'm happy to send you I'll email you the chat. So I know it's a little clunky because you can't save it for yourself, and then you kind of have to email me, but I don't know any other way, because I've been trying to change it and I can't seem to change the setting. So that said, I believe the last two people I have are at Hunter, and I believe they're supposed to be in person. So I have Basia and Shandor. Are they on there, or are they on Zoom?
They're here.
Okay, so can we have them? Come on. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm just very briefly, I just wanted to speak a little bit about my experiences here at Hunter. I don't have a specific story to tell, but
we're having a little bit hard time hearing for some reason.
Testing, should be closer. Do you hear me at all?
That is so much better. Thank you.
Great. So just a quick little personal narrative from me today. I'm really happy to be here speaking to you about what teaching at Hunter means to me. I started here when I did my MFA in 2016, and I got the chance to teach Introduction to Creative Writing then. And that experience really changed the world for me, because I never thought I wanted to teach, and partly because I'm terrified of public speaking, and I'm actually deathly afraid of not dying right here in front of you all. But teaching turned out to be my favorite thing about doing the MFA, and I did love my MFA too, so it wasn't that I didn't like other things. I just really loved being in the classroom with our students here at Hunter. As everyone knows, amazing diversity, different linguistic background, and so much appreciation for just the opportunity to be in the classroom. And I've learned so much about writing through my years of conversations with students. However, and I always say this, I can only afford to stay here and do this job because I have other jobs. So it's like I have to subsidize this job with other jobs. And it's kind of the job is actually a luxury for me. And so I know I'm very aware that not every New Yorker has this kind of opportunity. You don't have to be able to do this amazing job, and how much better I could be at it if the paycheck and their insurance and if there was stability. So I think it would be especially hard to do this job at some point if I had disability, or if I God forbid get sick, and I will get older and I think about that. You know, how will I be able to keep doing this job when I get older? So we instructors at Hunter deserve the salaries and job security that will allow us to devote ourselves to these careers that we really deeply love, passionately love so much. And I stand in solidarity with all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I want you to narrate here too. You ready?
Okay. Yes, I see Fandor. I see him over there. Go ahead.
Getting a notebook. And now we're displaying a red chart. So you guys the updates in real time. All right, we're ready to launch. Are you ready? All right, over here.
By the way, shout out to Renee for getting all this tech stuff organized.
All right. Let's see, spotlight and do this. I'll start with yes.
So I think we all know that the word adjunct refers to something which is more or less added on, and it's an assistance or help to the main thing. But I think probably most of the people participating and watching this know that adjuncts teach the majority of the classes at CUNY. And obviously our labor is central, as was emphasized, I think, by a bunch of other people. The people that run CUNY are fully aware of all of the facts, every single fact that anybody has said today. Is no surprise to the Board of Trustees, the administration, and the rest of them. They know these things. They are happy about these things because this is a very fundamental part of how this university runs and how very many universities run in the United States. And the reason for that is really simple. It's money. It is cheaper for them. So what I think is a very important aspect of this is something that I think we also will know, which is that we're not going to change that by appealing to their morality or their sentiments or their better side, none of which exists. They do this because it works for them. What works for them is what doesn't work for us. What can and will change it at some point is a question of power, which is kind of why I'm wearing this Joe Hill shirt. Mainly I'm wearing the Joe Hill shirt because I needed a red shirt and we were asked to wear red shirts today. But if people know who Joe Hill was the most important, most famous songwriter of the labor movement in the United States. He was an immigrant, like so many of our fellow workers, and he was a leader of the industrial workers of the world, known as the Wobblies. He was executed by the state of Utah in 1915 during the first during the First World War. As part of the purge, as part of the crusade against labor radicals, people who were those who made the term free speech famous in this country. People like Elizabeth Gurley Flynn, who was a 16-year-old young woman, went to Spokane, Washington, and wrote the law in the name of what was supposedly the law, which was the First Amendment. and was one of those who fought against the restrictions on free speech, like the restrictions which our beloved and wise rulers are trying to reimpose, like up at City College, where 3 students were put in a holding cell 2 weeks ago because they had the audacity to distribute ideas at a university campus and they were going to try to get signatures on our union petition calling for immigrant success centers at every CUNY campus. So Joan Hill, he has a poem which goes like this: if the workers take an ocean, they can stop all speeding trains. Every ship upon the ocean, they can tie with mighty chains. Every wheel in the creation, every mine and every mill, fleets and armies of the nation will at their command stand still. Same with universities, but it's a question of power. So somebody talked about we should go on strike, which I certainly agree with. To do that, we would come up against the Taylor Law. The Taylor Law is a New York State law forbidding public employees, which includes us, from any type of concerted labor action, like a strike. Probably if we all coughed at the same time or held our breath, that would probably also violate the Taylor Law. And I would like to hereby, as an individual, not in the name of the union, advocate that we break that law. But in order to do that, we have to organize our power. It's only power that will make the other side, the employee class, including those who appoint these lackeys of the Board of Trustees, who are not only ignorant of education, but enemies of education. They are appointed directly by the ruling class of the city. So in order to do that, and let me just try to end with this, we have to organize not only amongst ourselves, but we have to break through one of the things which I think is fundamental about university life, including at CUNY. So we've got a 2-tiered labor system. It's actually a multi-tiered labor system. We have the tenured and tenured track faculty who are a union. They're in the same union as us, and that's a good thing. We should all be in the same union, right? In fact, there should be only one university union of all university employees. Everybody, that the cops and the administrators that works at CUNY should be in one union. But we've got the so-called full-timers, and then we've got us so-called part-timers, many of whom are full-timers who just get paid part-time, right? But there are also other tiers. There are HEOs, there are CLTs, and then there's the people that change the light bulbs, that sweep the floors, that take out the garbage, that do the heavy blue-collar work. And one of the most insidious aspects of the 2-tier labor system, which pervades every aspect really of our life as adjuncts, okay? We are frequently invisible. There's no toner in our printers. There's no windows in our rooms. We get the worst classrooms in the work, we get the last pick of this, that, and the other, not that I'm complaining or grudging. Far be it for me to do such a thing. But the problem is, among other things, that most of us adjuncts don't even know the people that do the physical work on our campuses and are not sufficiently connected to the rest of the working class in this city. Okay? The divide between manual and intellectual labor, which is one of the most insidious and horrendous things about capitalism, right, permeates in all too many cases, our own outlook and our own consciousness as well. So if we're going to break the 2-tier labor system, if we're going to establish some kind of decent pay and equality, right, as opposed to the rampant inequality, which on a day-to-day level frequently doesn't even get questioned, we have to break through that divide between manual and intellectual labor, and we have to not only unite with the rest of the workers at the City University of New York, but the rest of the working class in this city, which is more crucial than ever with the existing assaults on our right by the Republican Trump administration, the way for which was paid counted twice by the Democratic Party. So we need to break, in my opinion, from those capitalist politicians, rules, laws, and structures in order to begin to win the most fundamental thing that we and the rest of the working people need. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Enter out.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I did want to share one more thing before, and I'm going to drop this in chat and hopefully people can click, and I will also screen share. But there is one of our colleagues has made at Lehman this amazing site that has a lot of information on it has a lot of info, and I'm like, where is the screen share? Okay.
Jasmine, while you do that, thank you so much for including us in your event and making this CUNY wide.
Yeah, I really am excited about.
Jasmine, you did
Sorry.
an amazing job. Awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you all the campuses who joined this and all the people who are not on campuses who joined it. So I just wanted to share this site that was made by Kate, who's adjunct liaison. And if you go to that site, one of the things you can see, which is what I was trying to find, is the ratio of on each campus of people who are adjuncts versus people who are versus full-timers, and you can see the sort of like numbers, and you see how many adjuncts really are teaching at all these different colleges. So I think it's actually really, really important to understand just how many of us are there, and we are a majority of, at least with the teaching faculty, and also a lot of the staff are part-timers. So there are many different links that you can look at. So there's like links about pay inequity and the workload, and then variety of documents. And so it's a super useful website if you're an adjunct, and you know, check it out. And we're at 2:30. We said we'll end at 2:30, but if somebody wanted to share or say anything before I close, now is the time, and then we're going to close in a second. Oh, and definitely come and show support tomorrow for a variety of May Day event. I know that was dropped in chat, but maybe there is a link that somebody can drop. But yeah, see you all, love you all. I'm sure we all got places to go and things to do. And see you somewhere around CUNY.
Thank you, Jasmine.